This podcast is brought to you by Jupiter Medical Center, rated #1 for quality, safety, and patient experience. Jupiter Medical Center is your choice for world-class healthcare. With state-of-the-art facilities and leading-edge technologies, their award-winning physicians provide the highest caliber of care for the community. Jupiter Medical Center is proud to announce the opening of the all-new Johnny and Terry Gray Surgical Institute featuring the latest in innovative surgical care. To learn more, visit them at jupitermed.com.
So welcome back to the Palm Beach North podcast. My name is Noel Martinez. I am your host, and today we're going to talk about hurricanes, weather, and so much more. I am excited to have my good buddy here, Cris Martinez from WPBF 25. He is their chief certified meteorologist. Cris, welcome to the show.
Noel, so happy to be here. It's great to be here because we're kind of like flipping the roles a little bit. Like you get to ask me questions, and sometimes when we're out in the public and doing an Mardi Gras or whatever, I get to ask you the questions. Well, so it's like a role reversal.
This is super intimidating. I was telling you that earlier. Like now I'm interviewing the reporter, right? The guy that does the interviewing for a living. So
right, but this is it's not why be intimidating. It's like we know each other.
Well, clearly we know each other, right? But you know, one's a pro, one is not. So remember that. So, hey, let's get into meteorology. Right?
Sure.
So not every kid grows up knowing they want to do meteorology. So at what point in your life did you be like, yes, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, 13. I was 13 and I grew up in Texas. So rural area of South Texas. And unlike Florida, we can see those storms coming. We can see the dark clouds developing. We can see the softball-sized hail. We can see the tornadoes. Here in Florida, we've got trees. You can't really see those storms on the horizon come through. So I was just so fascinated with the hail that got so big. I was so fascinated with dealing with tornadoes and hurricanes. And where I grew up, that part of Texas, we saw all those elements. So I was like, dang, I want to do severe weather. I was fascinated by severe weather, and that's what I wanted to focus on. So ever since 13, I was like, I was that nerdy weather kid. I had the weather radio. I did the forecast for the middle school. I would sneak them into the, when the morning announcements came through. So I was that kid that was just like, I want to do weather. I want to be a meteorologist. So since 13, that was what I wanted to do.
So tell me so then what? So then you know that's what you want to do your whole life. You ended up you're an Aggie, right? Texas A&M.
That's correct, yep.
Right? So tell me about that. Tell me about college and what that looked like.
So high school, went through high school and took all the necessary, because meteorology is a very science-based degree. So I had to take all the AP chemistries, all the AP physics, went to Texas A&M, got my degree there. It was the second hardest degree to get. The first, guess what it was?
Doctor?
Engineering. All
right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I was like sitting there. There would be times I would be contemplating, and I'd be like, is this calculus 3 class worth it? Is this physics class worth it? I mean, because we had to take all those calculus classes, all those high level math classes, all those chemistry classes, all those physics classes, everything. It was a hard major to get through. And there were times where I was like, is this really what I want to do? But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, it's going to be cool to tell like those weather stories because I like to storm chase and I wanted to do that. That was my passion. So it all worked out. So 4.5 years later, got the degree and then jumped in my first job. I was blessed to have a job right out of college, once I graduated.
And you were in South Texas. I mean, you've been in
Correct.
some major markets before you got here to West Palm.
Right.
So talk me through that journey.
Sure.
So where were you before you got here?
So I started in Corpus Christi. I did weekends there. So I did that. And again, this was in a time where like you had to start and work your way up the ladder. That's how you have to gain experience and you work your way up. So I started in Corpus Christi. I'm from like the Victoria area, just south of San Antonio. So then after that job, I went to Victoria to my home market. It was a smaller market, but then I moved from weekends to mornings. But then I was always like bitten, I was always like goal oriented. My parents were like, always strict with me in the high school. You better get an A. You better get an A. You better get an A. So I was always goal oriented and wanted the best for myself, because growing up Hispanic and, the small rural town that I did in Texas, we didn't have much growing up. So it was upon me almost. My parents could only offer so much towards college and expenses and stuff, but it was kind of like on me to continue to gain that education so I could do better for myself and make it bigger for myself. So moral of that story is I worked in Victoria and I was like, I didn't want to make it bigger. So on the weekends, I found an opportunity to freelance in San Antonio, and I freelanced in Houston on the weekends. So I was working Monday through Friday in Victoria, working Saturdays, Sundays in San Antonio and Houston. And I did that for almost a year. And I'm like, this has to get me somewhere bigger. And it did. It landed me in Orlando. So I picked up my stuff, had my car, had my TV. I had really not much out there. I mean, this is like a 20-something-year-old kid that is moving out of his comfort zone for the first time. And I left Texas. And I swear to this day, my parents did not speak to me for 3 days, because Hispanics,
They are touch your hip.
They were like, they didn't expect that I was going to leave home base, because how Hispanics are in that culture, they want you to stay close to home.
Yeah.
So I left. They didn't speak to me for 3 months. I kind of figured out why, later. But then I moved to Orlando and I worked mornings in Orlando for a couple of years. And then I was like, you know what? I want to make it to a top 10 market by the time I'm 30. So I hired an agent, got my reel together, and then I moved to Atlanta. I got a job in Atlanta doing weekends.
Oh, wow.
And then I got promoted to do a Monday through Friday in Atlanta. And Atlanta's a top 10 market, So I was like, check, goal completed. But in the back of your mind, as a meteorologist, your top tier is always the chief. That's the top of your career. So moral of the story is 11 years later, here I am. So here I am in West Palm Beach.
Well, so how did you end up here? Did someone pick up the phone and call, reach out to you? Was your agent out there trying to find you some new locations?
Right, because essentially that TV station just wasn't the best fit for me. So I was kind of ready for a new change and a new challenge. So I was in talks with my agent, and he was like, okay, well, I've got a couple of opportunities for you. 2 were back in Orlando. 1 was in West Palm.
So much nicer.
Right. No, so I'm thinking to myself, I'm at PBI flying in for the interview, and I'm thinking to myself, I've known about South Florida, but I was very familiar with Orlando. So Orlando was a much more comfortable choice. But then when I flew in and I flew out, and I was like, there's something about this area that is intriguing to me. And sure enough, after all the dust had settled, I chose WPBF and have been here ever since. And I tell you, this community is so, because we work in a business where sometimes, this is not everyone's stop. But I tell you what, living downtown in West Palm Beach, there's so much charm, and there's so much it reminds me of that small town feel, but you get a city feel with it as well. So I think the combination of those have really suited me. And plus you get to know these folks really well, and you become, friends with these folks. They're not only, oh, I saw you on TV or whatever, you're friends with these people. So it's always been a charm that has really kept me here. And I've never left. And then, I got the promotion after Mike had left. He was here for 32 years, and miss him very much. He was a staple in the community.
Oh, yeah.
And we had the best working relationship ever. That guy is super funny. He's one of my good friends to this day. He will chime in every time there's severe weather, and he's like, dude, you're killing it. Or dude, that graphic looked good. Or dude. And it's just that rapport when he would come in, because during COVID, when we were in COVID, he was in the weather center, and then I was in my own studio because we had to be social distance.
Isn't that crazy? Let's think about that. crazy times, right? Like things were so different. Like we had no idea what the heck we were in.
I say crazy times for sure, but it's one of those things we're always going to remember. And it was weird, but it's like, wow, like we lived through a pandemic. And so we were so socially distanced. He was in one studio, I was in the other. So he literally, and you've been to the station, like Studio B. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was at. So he literally would open up the door. I'm like at my desk far away. He's like, yo, so what are we going for the forecast? And we were like chit chat. And then he would go back and then we would do our job. It was just he and I, the synergy with the severe weather and hurricane coverage, I think it was probably one of the best that I've ever dealt with in my career. He was such an easy person to work with. And he always valued my opinion and my expertise. And I think that's what really worked well for building up our brand. I mean, because we have solidified being number one in severe weather coverage, and we continue to be so. So miss that guy dearly. Like, he's a good friend, and I've learned a lot from him. So I don't forgot where we're at, but like yet 11 years later, here I am in this new role now, leading the charge and trying to keep people safe, because at the end of the day, that's what people don't really understand. I'm not in TV, Noel, to be on TV. I'm not here to do that. That's not my jam at all. I'm here because at the end of the day, I want to save people from the tornadoes. I want to give them that advance warning. I want to protect the people. And that's why I do what I do on a daily basis. I'm just not on there just to be on TV.
So let's talk about that. So what does your day look like? Like, no one really understands what you do all day, every day. People probably watch you on TV and think, all right, you're there 30 minutes before the show starts, then news starts, and then you go home. Right. That's not what it's like.
No.
What's a typical day look like for Cris Martinez?
So my hours, I'll go into work 2:30 and I'll stay all the way through midnight. That's every day. So day in the life is, let me just back you up from when I walk out the door.
Yeah, okay? Let's do that.
All right. So, you get ready, shower, get ready, throw on some clothes. I have most of my stuff at the studio to change into. Stop by Starbucks every day, order the same. I mean, I'll pull up to the thing and they could see you and they're like, PB&J box today or no PB&J box today? And it's just like, it's funny how they know your order. So I'll grab that. I'll walk into the station. And I like a little quiet time when I first get in to like analyze. And first, I'm always analyzing the models. I'm always analyzing the weather. I'm always looking ahead. I'm always glued and plugged in to what's going on, even though I'm not at the station.
So you are doing that. There isn't like a production team that's helping you put these reports together or anything like that. That's all you.
It's a team effort.
It's a team effort.
But I'm always plugged into what's going on weather-wise. So when I walk in at 2:30, I get dressed, do the whole hair and makeup, and then I start shooting promos for our 4 p.m. newscast and our 6 p.m. newscast. After that, we'll get the team together. I'll record some radio because we have some radio partners as well. Mm-hmm. And then I'll get the team together and then we all forecast collectively. So we do kind of like a team forecast where I'll ask Brooke, hey, Brooke, what are you going for this? Glenn, what are you going for this? And we'll collaborate and we'll fine tune the forecast. So that way, we have everyone's input on, everyone offers a little more expertise or whatever their own little style. So we'll do that. I do the 4, then 5 o'clock, I'll respond to emails. That's a little downtime, catch up, go around the newsroom and see how everyone's doing. Like, what's going on? If you're not in a good mood, let me tell you a dad joke, whatever. And then by the time you know it, it's 6 o'clock. So then I'm on at 6. And then from 6 to 6:30 is the show. Then we shoot more promos after the 6:30. And then we have downtime until our 10 o'clock and then 11 o'clock shows. So that's where I'm always looking ahead. What are we doing? Social media. So I'm always thinking weather. That when I wake up, when I go to sleep, when I'm on vacation, I'm always thinking about the job. Honestly, like, you cannot get my mind off the job at all.
Are you on call like a doctor? Like, let's say
24/7.
24/7. Something's bad's happening in the middle of the night. Your phone rings. You got to get into the station.
Amen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there has been,
and I
there
don't think
has-
people realize that.
no, if there's a big weather event, then I'm there. A couple weekends ago, we had 13 severe thunderstorm warnings on a weekend day. I was there. I went in because it's my job as the leader of our team and our chief to be in front of those big weather events. And so, yeah, I'm always on call. If I was on vacation, which I'm planning to take one soon.
Oh, golly.
Right. And, hurricanes brewing and threaten our area, coming back. That's my commitment. I mean, it's not, I have to do this. It's, I'm committed to our viewers. Because at the end of the day, it's the trust that we build with our viewers that is the most important. And for me to be just a couple of years in the role and new in the role, I mean, I've been here for 11 years, yes. But as the chief and as the leader in this new role, people trusted Mike. Now I have to, earn other people's trust as well and solidify that trust. So it's my decision. Like, no one's telling me, you got to be there, you got to go in. This is all my doing. It's because I'm married to my job too, because I love my job and I'm very passionate about what I do.
So you're an award-winning, you've won awards for your coverage of Hurricane Isaac, which is pretty cool. Is that the worst or the most challenging weather event that you've ever reported on? Or there's far worse?
I think that would be because it was barely a hurricane, but I was actually in it. So
Hurricane Isaac?
Hurricane Isaac. So I was literally wind blown, storm surge coming up.
Are you ready to bring your ribbon cutting to the next level? Introducing the Ribbon Cutting Ceremony Recap Video, your key to unforgettable event marketing. We know that each business is unique, and that's why we offer tailored solutions, starting with our basic package, where you can commemorate your event with elegance even without the video. But why stop there? Our comprehensive event coverage and premier business launch packages include the game-changing recap video, capturing every vibrant moment of your grand opening, from the ribbon cutting to impactful speeches, all in a stunning 1-minute video. Best of all, your event's highlights won't just linger in the memories of those who attended. Through our partnership with the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce, your video will be featured across multiple platforms. Expect to see your business shine on social media, in newsletters, and our website, and even the acclaimed Palm Beach North podcast. Don't let your special day fade away. Make it a monumental one with the Ribbon Cutting Ceremony Recap video and reach audiences beyond your wildest dreams. Ready to elevate your grand opening? For pricing and more details, email katie@pbnchamber.com or visit our website for more information. Make your event unforgettable.
In the water.
You're the guy holding on to the light pole?
Right. Holding.
With everything's flying behind you.
No, because I'm thinking in my head, because there's people out there that say, oh, those people on the Weather Channel, they are, they're faking it. They're not really doing it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dang, I can't stand up. This wind is tremendous. Like, I'm like in water up to my boots. I'm so wet. It's just a mess. But to tell that weather story, and I think why I like to be in those elements, because even like hurricanes that may threaten our area, I like to be in those weather elements. I like to go out because that's how you gain the experience. And I think that's what sets us apart, or in this market, is you have to know South Florida weather. It's a different beast.
It's a monster. Yeah, it's different.
It is a different beast. Hurricane, sea breeze, tornadoes. And they're not the tornadoes like I dealt with in Texas or Atlanta. It's a different climate. It's a different weather pattern. And you have to be very knowledgeable about it. And I think that's what sets us apart.
What? You love your job. I could
I do.
just
Hold
see
on.
it. I could see it. What's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job actually is meeting the folks. Like, for example, we had the Port St. Lucie Hurricane Expo not last weekend, but the weekend before. And look, my job is one of those jobs. Let me just keep it real. My job is one of those jobs where you'll hear people say, oh, you can be half right
And always wrong.
something of that like, and you get paid. You have those folks. And which is like, hey, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. We are in a day now where you have your phone, you have the apps, you have whatever you use to get your weather. But at the end of the day, what I appreciate is these folks that we get to meet in person, especially in Port St. Lucie, and said, Cris, I have to tell you, and literally, Noel, this was very touching. She started to tear up because she was like, I remember when you said, get to your interior room. And I grabbed my dad, and she started to tear up because she's like, you literally saved our lives. So it is, if that's just one person saying, you helped me, you saved, that's what I do at the end of the day. I'm not doing this to be famous. I'm doing this because I want to help people. I'm doing this my job, and I take it seriously because I want to protect people. And just like interacting with those folks and just to see the raw emotion. Or, you know, I had one sweet woman in Delray Beach when the Kings Point tornado with one of the hurricanes we had reach out, and she was just so thankful. And she's like, Cris, you know, all we heard was like, get in your safe room, and very emotional. And when you are like,
it gives me goosebumps when I hear you say that, because I've heard you say that on TV before. So you just said that, getting your safe rooms. I'm like, that scares me, freaks me out a little bit.
Right. Because I'm not going to sit there and tell you to do something if I'm not concerned.
Yeah.
But yet we have to keep our composure. And I can't really, my thing is, I will be more stern and I will be more commanding when I know in my heart and my gut that there's going to be a real threat. I'm not there on TV I keep it all real. I keep it all real. It's no hype. It's no drama. It's real. And I think that's what really connects with people. And that's what I really like. Part of my job is connecting with our viewers that have come to trust me and the team. And it's just meeting these folks because they're our family.
Yeah.
They treat us like family. We're in their homes every day. And that's one of the best part. And being in the communities also. Did I lead into another
question? No, let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that, right? Community. I mean, you are so engaged in the community. You do so much, because not only are you working 24 hours a day, but you serve with many nonprofit organizations, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, March of Dimes, American Cancer Society, the American Diabetes Association. Like, you do a lot.
Yeah.
How do you balance work, your community work, and then your personal life? How do you do that?
It's tough. At the end of quite honestly, look, as long as I got a Sunday where between 3 and 7 I can grab a cocktail and relax, then the rest of the week is fine. Like, honestly, that's what it is. Like I love to keep busy, and I like working. I like being involved in our community, because when you're involved in the community, they have your back, and they will always have your back. Yeah. But like I said, it's a tough work-life balance. And I knew that taking the role. But like I said, all I need is a good little, 4-hour window when I could just relax, maybe have a cocktail on a Sunday and just relax and get back in it. That's it. Because I'm just that type of person that likes to work. And, with the Diabetes Association, you're thinking, well, how did you get involved with that? Because diabetes is predominantly known as a disease that affects our older demographic and generation and stuff like that, which is true. But I found out that diabetes affects so many people in Florida. Everyone knows somebody, not diabetes, sorry. I should say Alzheimer's.
Okay, Alzheimer's, yeah.
Yeah, because diabetes I was with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and diabetes I was within Atlanta. Then I moved down here. I started with Alzheimer's and cancer. So I'm going to talk about that little transition real quick. So Alzheimer's is known as an older, folks are older that have the disease, dementia, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And everyone in Florida is leading the nation with the folks that are living with Alzheimer's. And there's no cure. So that struck me. Also, I felt like they needed a younger voice to talk about, because now there's studies that even when you're 45, they can pick up on if you could potentially have it later on in life. Like, that's my age range.
Mine
Well,
too.
hey, I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to call. No, but that's our age range.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. So that's why. That's why I got involved, because I felt like they needed a younger voice to talk about this, and some achievements have been made in Alzheimer's, so that's great.
Mhm.
But I had to transfer and kind of focus my passion into cancer because of my dad that just recently passed. So, so I turned 40 a couple years back, and we all took a trip to Tulum for my 40th birthday, and
With your family.
with my family, with my mom and my dad, and a couple of friends, and had the best time. It was good because I'm like, God, I've only turned 40 once, right? And just to have your parents there is cool.
Yeah.
You know, you're just hanging out, whatever. And that's why that place, and I'll tell you why, has a special place in my heart, Tulum, is because a month later, we found out that he had some spots, and he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in September. So my mom called me, she called me really upset one day, and she's like, they found something, he's got stage 4 lung cancer. And she was very upset. And I'm like, okay, I'm the calm, cool, collected. Okay, I understand, but let's see, there's gotta be options. There's options, there's chemo, there's this, there's that. This is all new. This is all new to our family.
Yeah.
No one in our family has had cancer. So, and then it also brought to mind of like, they're in Texas and I'm in South Florida. I'm the only one in my family that is over here in Florida, and the rest of my family has been in Texas, because it's Hispanic. Everyone stays at home, but they respect the success that I've built, and they understand why I'm over here, and this why I've made South Florida my home. So it was tough, because, he powered through chemo. He was great. I went out to see him, a couple of times, and he was like great. He had to then eventually, a year in, he had to be hooked up to oxygen. So he's on oxygen.
Yeah.
And then he was in and out of, he got COVID. So then COVID took a really bad toll on his lungs.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
So then he was back in kind of like an ICU until he had COVID and pneumonia. So he was fighting two. So finally he got back to stable, and then everything was good. But I tell you what, cancer is a roller coaster. It is a emotional roller coaster for sure. And the thing about me, I'm emotional inside. I'm not that emotional outside. But it was like I was literally in knots just to hear everything. So, long story short, he was in kind of towards the end, he was in kind of like an extended stay hospital where they would give him his meds. He was still hooked up to the breathing and stuff like that. And I went out to visit. This was last summer. Yeah, it was about this time actually. And I went out to visit him, and he was talking. He was one of those, he's a Scorpio just like you, talking to the nurses, joking, doing this. Like my dad was a jokester.
I was going to ask you, what was he like? Yeah.
He was a jokester. Like he would be, he was, and he didn't care. He would be like talking to because now they have the what's below a doctor?
It's the
Is it a PA?
No, it's
a physician assistant or something like that.
Gosh, I should know this. AARP, or I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
But it was
I know what
someone.
you're talking about,
It was someone below a doctor,
Mhm.
and he would be like, "Man, they pay you all that money."
Nurse
And-
practitioner.
Nurse practitioner.
Golly.
Yeah, they pay. He would make all these jokes, and I'm like sitting there. My God, my dad. He's like, I look back, and that's one of the things I look back on. He was so dang funny. Like he was crazy funny, and he did not care. He would give everyone just crap.
Yeah, good.
But good crap.
Yeah.
Like he was
Yeah.
everyone loved him. So I went to see him this time last year, and he was, talking and couple weeks later, I was back here. My mom called and said their chemo's not working. The cancer came back because for a while it did go away. Um, so then I was like, oh, okay. So I was trying to process. Oh, so that means like it's almost the end. I just couldn't. I'm so grappled over here with work, and then trying to comprehend what's going on with him. So then I talked to him, and he's still joking around, talking. I mean, he's of course on a breathing tube, but then I started noticing like he was every time I would talk to him, and I would talk to him every day before I went to work. I'd call him after I got my Starbucks, and here's one of the funny things that I cannot let go. I was like, "How you feeling?" He goes, "With my fingers."
Oh Lord.
So I was like, okay, so it was like the comfort. And I was like, okay, this guy still has it. Like, but so I'm like, okay. In my mind, I was like, okay, he's still kicking because I'm still dealing with job over there. So then when I went out it was the last week of July, I went out to a conference. It was like a state conference where state leaders met with all the meteorologists in Florida, and we talked about how we could better prepare our viewers, the messaging, the communication, like that. It was in St. Pete. So we drove out there. I believe it was July 25th, and I had talked to him that Monday. It was a Tuesday. Drove back, and when I got home, I had a weird feeling. Like I didn't talk to him. I didn't talk to him today. I had a weird feeling. And I was so exhausted because we literally had gone to St. Pete and drove back and didn't get back till later that night. So I woke up the next morning to take my dog out. My mom calls me at like 9:45 and I'm like, hello? And it's quiet. And I hear the beeping in the background and I'm like, okay. She's like, they're just going to make him comfortable. And I sat there and I was like, huh? Like I was dumbfounded. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, they're just going to make him comfortable. Do you want to talk to him? And I was like, yes, I want to talk to him. So she handed him the phone and he's like, hey, mijo, and I'm like, and I'm trying to process. I'm like, oh my God, is this the end? Like, I'm like, what is going on? Because I had just woken up, because we got in late the night before, and I was like, I was like, I love you. I was like, what do I say?
Tough. Yeah, that's tough.
So I talked to him and he's like, I love you, take care of everybody. And,
Sounds like he was just at peace. He was okay with it.
Yeah. And I was like, I'll talk to you later. So then hung up and I'm sitting there and I am just like, my mind went blank. I'm like, what do I do? I could not think. So I literally, I called my boss and I was like, look, this is the end. Like I had to take that day off. Mentally, I could not think. There was not a thought in my brain. I was like, what do I do? And I'm thinking to myself, should I book? I need to find a way to get home soon. So that day was rough. Then I got a call it was like 11:54 that night. And she had called and she had said that he passed just at 11:50. And that she was there with him by herself. She didn't want anybody else with him. And I literally was like, oh, wow, this is real. And like my mom and dad were together for 47 years. And my dad and I, we, growing up, he was hard on us, and we really started having a great relationship when I was in my, late 20s and lower 30s. And I was really glad that we could rebuild that relationship. So it was tough. So I flew out to Texas and it was, Noel, death is just it's weird.
I hate to say that. I've dealt with a lot of it in my life, right? I lost my parents when I was younger. I wasn't a young kid, but I was a young adult.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. And
It's tough.
I just lost my sister not too long ago. Yeah, it's
You
tough.
get it. It's like
brutal.
something you can't navigate. You're
Mhm.
like, what? What do I do?
Yep.
So let me wrap this up so we can get on to the but he was at peace. He opened up and we opened, like, when we had the services, he was smiling in the casket. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
He told my mom he lived a great life. And, I'll always remember him because we buried him on my birthday that year. So that will always be something to remember him by. And I still think about every time his jokes and stuff like that. But there's that. So that's to say that why I'm heavily involved now in American Cancer Society and everything what they're trying to do, because I want to help find a cure, because cancer sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks for everybody. And we need to find something to do to eradicate it.
Well, that's tough to share that kind of story. So I really appreciate you feeling comfortable enough to talk to me about that. I'm sure your dad was super proud of you. I mean, you've had such a successful career.
He literally would watch the 6 p.m. newscast on his phone on the app, and he would text. He'd be like, "Oh, I like that tie," or "Oh, like he would tell all the nurses, "Look, this is my son. This is my son."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I knew.
That's what it's all about, man.
So as long
great.
as I made him proud, so that's all that matters.
You definitely did. No, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about hurricane preparedness, right? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
It's your favorite subject.
This is probably going to be edited anyway, so it's just like
it's not.
So we could, so we can transition into something a little more upbeat.
So 2020, between 2020 and 2023, can't say that 10 times. 1.5 million people have moved into Palm Beach County.
Yes.
Right? That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? For a lot of reasons, right? We don't have to get into that, but rarely any of them have been through a hurricane. Like, they don't even know what to expect. They don't even know what a hurricane's like. Right. There's a normal afternoon thunderstorm here, and they think it's a hurricane.
Correct.
So what are key steps that our residents should be taking to prepare for hurricane season? Because by the time this show comes out, we're going to be 3.5 weeks into the hurricane season. So
that's a good question, because you bring up it's a challenge for us, because we have all these new residents that have moved in to our area, and they're so used to dealing with the weather up north. So what we have done is we start early with our hurricane preparedness talks, and we start back in April, because we want them to be prepared before June 1. It is too late to be prepared when a hurricane is at your door. So we have our hurricane preparedness tours that we do, that we go out in the community, and we, kind of get everyone on board about what they should know. And the thing is, they have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. Make a plan.
So what does that plan look like? Because again, I grew up down here. Like I was in Miami for Hurricane Andrew.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I know what to do when a hurricane comes, but a lot of people don't have a clue. Correct. So what does that plan look like? So
your plan is, your number one thing is to know your evacuation zone. That is the key thing to know. Okay. And in Palm Beach County, we have the intracoastal. We have areas where houses are on the water. That is the storm surges is the number one killer. Yep. So the one thing that we hone in on is know your zone. And it's easy. You can go to the website, put in your address to see if you're in a zone, but knowing your zone is the first thing that you should do. And then when we talk about making a plan, there is certain things that you should have, like in a kit, like your water, your food, stuff that you would need.
Flashlights
in case the electricity goes out. So, but knowing your zone, that is tantamount to everything. And here's another thing that I want to talk about. Everyone thinks that you have to evacuate. Oh no, we got to go to Orlando. We got to go to Atlanta. We got to go up north. We got to go hours to get out of harm's way. False. The only thing you need to do, if you're in an evacuation zone, find somewhere 10 to 20 miles outside of that zone. Because what you're going to end up doing is clogging up 95, clogging up the turnpike. And the thing is, you're trying to run from the water but you can hide from the wind. Most houses here can withstand Cat 3, maybe a little higher winds, but the only way you really need to evacuate is if you're in a mobile home or if you live on the water and there's a big storm surge. You do not need to travel hundreds, because then you've got stalled cars, you've got gas, and it's something that you just don't need to do, if you got to go. So 10 to 20 miles outside the zone.
It just happened on the other coast last year, right? All those broken down cars on the side of the road eventually got washed away. I mean, it was a mess. What are other mistakes that people make in preparing for hurricanes or during a storm? I mean, you talked about going up north, evacuating. Are there any other mistakes that people make or anything that we could think of?
Generators in the garage.
Why? What's bad about that?
Well, because when you run your generator in the garage, it creates this really, really toxic,
carbon dioxide. Yeah.
Right. Yep. And you don't want to be in your garage while that is happening. No, all kidding aside, it's very dangerous. So you don't want to do that. Some other things is, I think it's all really common sense, Noel. Like, gas up your car, because a lot of you see it all the time.
You say that now, but then everybody runs out of gas when a storm comes in because they don't realize that you're not going to be able to get to a gas station for 5 to 7 days.
So right now, in the meantime, get your gas cans, and every time or every couple of times you go to the gas, fill it up. Make sure you've got extra gas on hand just in case you run out, because we know that every time a storm, and I see it all the time, and that's one thing that we got to break out of the cycle of doing, waiting to the last minute. And there's another thing that we have to fight too as well. It's complacency, because you have a lot of folks, because we're now a transitioning demographic here in Palm Beach County. You have folks that have been here for a while, but now you have all these new folks. So now our message is now we have to talk to two groups of people, really. And there's a lot of complacency. Yeah. And, I went through this storm, or I went through this storm. But at the end of the day, we have built great partnerships with all 5 of our emergency management offices, and especially right here in Palm Beach County, Mary Blakeney. I have built a great relationship with her. And
she's pretty amazing.
Love Mary.
She's so sharp.
She's smart. She knows what to do. Yep. So we have built this synergy and relationship through, I've seen her at a lot of hurricane conferences, and that's how you build these relationships. So I've built these relationships with not only her, but Sally Waite in Martin County, and the rest of the team has gone out to our other counties in the market to build these relationships. But when they say go, they're not doing it to joke. They mean go. And I think building that relationship and having those relationships is key, because that allows us to be on the same page, because there tends to be a lot of misinformation that comes out during when a hurricane threatens.
So let's talk about that. How do you stay informed before, during, and after a storm? What are the best ways for residents to receive timely updates?
Well, obviously, by watching us, we are very, I'd say, aggressive. We're always ahead of that next storm. We're always looking ahead. We were talking about this tropical moisture, this little disturbance that's moving in now.
Yeah.
About a week ago. We were talking about it moving in. We're always looking forward, and always, so you can plan. So we're always that weather team that you can count on to give you that advance. The first warning, that's our brand. The first warning to impending. So we're always looking ahead. We have our radio partners that we partner with, that in case that you run out of electricity, you have some radio and batteries, we simulcast on those radio partners as well during that.
Oh, go ahead. I thought you were going to keep going.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to ask.
No. So is there anything that we haven't talked about from a hurricane standpoint that we need to talk about?
Look, it's going to be a busy one.
It is, right? I mean, that's what every news channel you turn on, even though you're the only news channel I watch, everybody's talking about that. Why is it going to be such a bad year?
Good question. But here's something that I want to address first. We get there's so many headlines. You see it in newspapers, you see it in social media, that they're very bold headlines. again, we are always going to keep it real. Now, when I say I think it's going to be a very active season, I'm saying that because in my gut, in my experience, and what's coming together, it looks like it's going to be a very active season. And that's not to scare anybody at all. This is why we do what we do. We want you to prepare now, just in case we have to face a hurricane, because we're going to go through that storm together. You're going to be glued to the TV.
Yeah.
You're going to be seeing us running on adrenaline. You're going to be seeing us, oh, their voice is going out, but we're going to be there for you during the storm. But we don't want to see anyone and any people in our community get hurt. We don't want to see any deaths if we have to deal with the hurricane. So that's why, look, everyone is entitled to their own opinion and can do what they want to do. But we're here to say, let's get ready now. So that way, if we have to face something, you're not freaking out. You're not having anxiety attacks. That's why you can rest assured, my plan's in place, my kit's in place. Let's ride it out together and we'll be fine, because there's so much anxiety that comes with dealing with an approaching storm.
Yep.
But that's why we're always looking ahead. We're always forecasting ahead, especially with this disturbance that is giving us much needed rain, because a lot of folks have been like, I need the rain. My grass
is not.
It's brown. It's crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got that, but we're always, and we're not like the other stations. We are going to always be thinking outside of the box. We live up to our branding, which is first warning. You're going to get that first warning from us, and you're going to get that most accurate forecast for 11 years now from us, because we all take our jobs very seriously and we're dedicated to the community. Again, no one at our station is doing the job. And you know, Felicia and Tiffany, you've been friends with them. Everyone is great. Everyone's a great.
It's like a family there.
It's exactly like a family, Noel. And we're not there. We all have the same thoughts in mind. We're there for our community. We're there for our people, because it's like the events that we have, like in Port St. Lucie or anywhere else, that we get to meet our extended family that welcomes us into their home daily. And that's how you build the connection, the trust for them to continue to watch you to move forward.
So we got to start to wrap things up here, but there are a couple questions that I want to get in, right? Meteorology is changing every single day. So what are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities you see for meteorology, and let's say in the next decade?
Well, weather is the number one. It still is the number one reason why people watch local TV. Even though there's the apps on your phone, it's easy to pick up your phone, but yet I get so many emails. My app said it's going to rain, but it didn't rain. That's why your trusted local meteorologists are still going to be in demand. So thank goodness, even though with AI now available and new forecasting models, I think there will always be some sort of representation for weather in broadcast or in general, because people are going to relate to people. People really don't relate to an app. And so I think even though with the new advances in the AI and stuff like that, I think meteorology is going to be here to stay. I mean, I know some people, some stations around the country are doing more with less. That's not our way with Hearst. We work for a great company. Hearst is just a fantastic company that believes in journalism, that believes in community and dedication. And like I said, it's a transitioning time, because you have all these AIs and new advances and all this computer and stuff like that. And to us, it's like, oh my God, what's going on? But then Gen X and Gen Z, it's just like, oh, this is cool. But at the end of the day, I don't think meteorology is going anywhere, or weather storytelling. I don't think I think us and people as meteorologists will be here for a bit.
All right, last question. So, and I like to ask this question to all the guests. So what kind of advice would you give little Cris, the 13-year-old Cris Martinez that just figured out, I want to be a meteorologist one day? What kind of advice would you give him?
Listen to your gut. Stay true to your heart. And just like with life, you're going to face some bumps. There's going to be some bumps in the road, but always stay true to the goal that you set, because if you keep your mind to it, you're going to achieve. And look, and I'm living proof of that. Meteorology was tough for me. I mean, with all the math classes and physics and stuff like that. And I was like, oh goodness, is this worth it? I always would doubt. But the thing is, I would say, don't doubt. Just get through it, power through. And it's a very rewarding career. I've been doing this 20 plus years, and it has been very rewarding because at the end of the day, and I say this, I'm just a small town boy that was raised on a ranch in South Texas that wasn't expected to do anything with his life. And look where I am now. So that's basically all that you need to know wherever you come from. If you come from poor, if you have money, whatever, it's about staying true to your goal and making sure that you follow it through, because a lot of people get knocked off with the doubts and stuff like that. But in your heart, if you stay true to it and you persevere, I mean, it's all rewarding.
All right. Anything you want to plug before we go? Anything? Where can they see you every night?
Oh, okay.
Monday through Friday, plug it.
Okay, so you can catch me on WPBF, 25 News, 4, 6, 10, 11, severe weather, pretty much 24/7. Like we said, on the social channels too.
Yeah, you gotta plug it.
Yeah, you gotta plug it. So it's at, what is my Instagram? Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh, Lord. Okay, forget it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
I forgot there's so many these days, right?
Well, Cris, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for being so authentic, man. That's what I love about you. You've always been that way since I first met you. Thank you for sharing, some personal stories with us today. I really appreciate you being you, man. Keep up the great work. We're really proud of you. And you and the rest of the team at WPBF are just absolutely amazing. You guys are like family, and you can tell everybody when you get back to the studio that I said that. So thanks again for tuning in to the Palm Beach North podcast. Thanks again to our friends at Jupiter Medical Center for their support. And we look forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye-bye. You're good.